Yeah, and the last one. If people say, how much does it cost? I say, what's the value? Those are the things I look for. You look to buy a property, I like to buy into a system. Does that make sense? Because what I really want to do, and really all we've created with our company here, we probably have 150 people in Indianapolis who work with us for at least 90% of their income, whether it's contractors, leasing agents, direct employees. Okay, we work with a lot of people here in town. And I forgot where I was going with that.
You look at value.
Yeah, anyway, sorry, lost it. Yeah, but we work with a lot of people here in town, and what's interesting to me is that people come here wanting to get a home inspection, wanting to get an appraisal. We bring people here for our seminars, we teach them for 2 days, we show them everyone that we work with, we take them out and show them the properties, and then they go, well, I still really just want to get a home inspection. And I'm like, okay, well that's fine, but do you want a home inspection because you're throwing up a fear from moving forward on a little greenhouse? Or do you want a home inspection because that's the last catalyst for you to buy? It's interesting because one of the things we found is the more successful people are, the more money they have when they work with us and when they meet us. Their biggest criteria is, well, what have you been doing? How long have you done it? How many deals have you done? Let's talk about, demonstrate your expertise to me. And once I get that, then I'm good. And when you look at the division of labor between everyone who we work with here in town, the focus is on letting people do what they do best. Because if we all agree to specialize, then synergy is created, and the sum of the parts is more than what is it, Brian?
The whole is more than the sum of the
The
parts.
whole is more than the sum of the parts. All right, next. All right, so I actually laid those all out. One thing I like to show at seminars is I feel like a lot of people don't really get their mind around the, yeah, I think there's one more. Okay. I don't think people really have the mathematical instinct to get their mind around what they could do if they would just buy 5 properties and agree to roll their rental profit, the rental income, back into buying more properties. I think people understand that, but they haven't internalized it because they've never really thought about finance. Let me talk really quickly about a self-directed DIR. Is that right?
It looks good. IRA, I'd stick with that part.
Forgot the C.
DIRECT.
We get the point.
Forgot the C.
It's in there, you just can't
Oh,
remember.
It's right there. Okay.
We got it.
Okay.
Minutia.
Spell check. So we have investors that are buying little green houses in a self-directed IRA. And a self-directed IRA is just like an IRA that many of you thought about. The difference is that you decide the investment. So when I was teaching high school, before 5 years, at the 5-year mark you get a pension. Before the 5-year mark, you sat down with someone in human resources and they said, all right, well, do you want to be aggressive with your money or conservative, or you kind of picked, right? And so I'm like, well, I don't know, what should I do? And she's like, well, just be aggressive because you're young. I'm like, okay. So I ended up with Enron and Janus, right? And over those 5 years, it was funny because after 5 years, I noticed something really interesting had happened. Based on my decisions, there was less money in there than what I had put in over the 5 years. Go figure, right? Not only had I not made any money, there was less money. If I would have just put the money in my mattress, I would have had more money. Okay? So what we do and what we have investors do is by setting up a self-directed IRA, you could take the money that you have from another job, the IRA money, or you could take money you have in a savings account or an inheritance. You can plunk it in there and you can buy houses with it. The power of that, though, is that the rental income, you don't pay taxes on it. If you sell one of the houses for a profit, you don't pay taxes on it until you retire,
Unless it's a Roth.
unless it's a Roth, and then you can do qualified. Now think about the power of that, because if you were to collect after paying your taxes, management, insurance, on each one of these houses, $500 a month. So let's say you get a south side of Indy house, it's bringing in $750 a month, you got management, taxes, insurance, etc. You're bringing $500 a month, right? And let's say you pay $60K for each of those houses, okay? Which is actually that's on the high side. But let's be conservative, okay? You do a nice Perry Township house, do a great job fixing it up. Let's say you do that. Let's be conservative. You rent it out for $750, $825 after expenses. You're netting $500 a month. So you're netting $2,500 a month after your expenses in your IRA. Okay. Now $2,500 a month times 12 months is how much a year? 10 months is $25,000 plus 2 more months. 30 grand a year, right? So I'm netting $30,000 after the first year, right? Do I pay taxes on that? No. Now if I buy those houses and just the money goes into my savings account, how much do I pay in taxes on my rents? If you do it outside of your IRA, you pay whatever your tax rate is, 25, 30, 35%. So it's like, you have the money that you could live off of, you can use it for your expenses, but you're still going to pay as if it was your job. Now, after year 1, do I have enough to buy another little greenhouse? Nope. But after year 2, I can buy 1 house. You guys with me on the example? Is this a conservative number to buy a little greenhouse? Okay. Is this a conservative number in cash flow? Sure there. Okay. So at the end of 2 years, by just agreeing to plow this rent back, and then when there's enough in there, buy another house, and I'll have 2 houses. How many houses do you think you'll have after 15 years? How many houses do you think you'll have after 30 years?
6 potential.
6 potential after, you think 6 after
No,
15?
it's exponential.
It's exponential. Let's assume that the price and value in houses doesn't go up at all. Let's just assume that. Let's just say you can still keep finding 60K houses after 15 years, because maybe you get really good at finding deals in that neighborhood. And let's just say that the rents don't go up either. Okay, so it is exponential, right? In fact, really it's compound interest, right? Mm-hmm. So, how many of you, let's just show a hand, just on your gut, because I like to highlight this because we really don't have, it's hard to get our mind around. How many of you think after 15 years you'll have 10 houses or less? Raise your hand. 10 to 15, raise your hand. 15 to 20, raise your hand. Some of you aren't raising your hands. 20 to 25, raise your hands. 25 to 30, raise your hands. Does anybody not raise their hand? Raise your hand. How many do you think?
Over 30.
You think over 30, okay? What about after 30 years then? 20 to 30. Over 50. Over 75.
It's well over 50.
Over 100. All right, let's take a look at it.
We raised his hand 3 times.
They were all the same number.
Okay? Based on, if we just say 3% appreciation, if we say you keep buying the houses for 60 grand, you keep that in 500 at Dorson, we don't account for any increase in properties or increase in rents, you'd have somewhere in the low 20s after 15 years, kicking off $11,000 a month in that IRA with a value of just under $2 million. And you keep rolling those for another 15 years, you're looking at almost 100 houses in that IRA that they've bought for themselves, 40 grand a month, and $15 million in value. Now, if the value, if the rents go up, then that could be 70 or 80,000. But that kind of be offset by the fact that you'd start paying more for the houses too. Yeah.
I was just going to say the appreciation of the real estate isn't factored in the calculations.
Yeah, we did
A little
3%.
bit, yeah.
Just 3%.
Yeah, we just did 3%. Which my experience in Indy is that's depending if you're buying in the right neighborhoods. Like just since I've been here in Fountain Square, it's been averaging double digits since we've been here. There's pockets in Indy that do exceptionally well. It's like Speedway right now has been going up high single digits over the last 5 years. So it's just knowing that market and knowing what trends are. Okay, but
So it's not necessarily the point at which you buy the acquisition cost as much as it is the overall market.
it's both. I mean, if you think about it, like look at the houses. I bought a house today over on the west side, like neighborhood. Okay, What's that?
I don't know your houses, but go ahead.
So I bought a house today over on Tremont, the 300 block of Tremont. Okay, so it's West Washington, 3 blocks north, right? I bought it for 10 grand, and it needs probably 10 grand. If I were, the market value of that house, rehab is probably somewhere in the 60s. So I've instantly created value by buying at a discount. The fact that my $10,000 in rehab may be your $20,000 in rehab means I've created value as well. So it's really, it's really a function of what kind of value you can create through rehab and buying on a discount.
Do you consider in itself, this might be further on, so push me off if
No.
necessary, but do you consider that if you have a few $100,000 to start with, that you actually flip some of the houses to generate more cash to buy more houses?
That's a great question. I love that you said that. So this is only assuming that you're rolling rent, because you can flip in an IRA. You can lend money out of an IRA. You can do hard money to other investors and charge 5 and 15. Okay, this is really only if I bought these houses for 30 grand. Okay, and I'm making 30,000 that first year. These are just 10% deals. This is assuming that all I make is 10% in my retirement account over the next 30 years. Easily, if you're flipping, you could make, last year on just one partnership that I have with an investor has $1 million, and the deal that I went to him with was this. Ron, I'm going to give you 30% APR a year on your money. Okay, so you loan me this $1 million, I'm going to flip with it, and I'm going to give you 300 grand. Okay, what would the bank give him? 2%?
Maybe.
Right?
Nothing.
Okay, so the bank would give him 20.
Some fees.
I'm giving him 300, right?
A business card.
So it was a tough choice.
Right. So he loved it, right? And I said, not only I'm gonna take title in your company's name. I'll take title in your name, so you wouldn't even have to foreclose on me by default. And he's like, this is a great deal. And I said, okay. And here's what we'll do. Every quarter, your accountant will come in and audit my returns. Okay. And what was our 12-month performance on that? The last 12 months. It's like 130% we did on that money.
So you didn't hit the 30%.
130. Yeah. So I sit down with the accountant, right? Now when I told the accountant this, he's like, Ron, we're all sitting down together. Now Ron had made millions, he's a businessman. Red, the accountant, was not a businessman. He's an accountant in Beech Grove, right? So I sit down and Red says, Ron, I gotta tell you, this is really risky, okay? 30% is a really high number. Bernie Madoff went to jail for doing 10%. That's all he was promising. And Ron said, Red, Aaron explained to me what he does. He's been doing this for years. This isn't a new model for him. He's got investors that can, I get it. I want to do this. And this is why you'll never be a rich man. Because you can't see this. 4 quarterly financials later, Red sees $1.3 million, right? And Ron getting 300, and he literally sits down with Ron and says, you're getting a bad deal. Because Aaron made 130% out of money, and you only got 300 grand of that. Aaron made $1.3 million off your $1 million, and you only got 300 grand. And Ron said to him again, Red, that's again why you're not a rich man, because you're greedy. He said, I'd be worried if Aaron would have made 310,000, because next year, maybe he only makes 250, and he shorts me. He's like, I like that Aaron's making that, because he's so far ahead, I'm never going to lose my money. And he's going to keep using my money. And I like that. And I thought, that's a rich man. That's a man who made millions because his now he happened to own a machine shop that does high-end machine parts for Rolls-Royce and for Boeing and for these industries. So his little tumor, his little synapses have been formed over and over again making that money. And he get it. And he doesn't think the same as his accountant who makes 120 grand a year. And 120 grand a year is a lot of money. But I'm telling you, you start to see the whole world differently when you get to, when you get to that point. Does that make sense to you guys?